Hey, creative geniuses. Patrice here with a little IP story about the Netflix series Forever. What Judy Blume and Mara Brock Akil teach us about legacy and intellectual property. So, when I first saw the headline, Judy Blume's Forever is being adapted into a series with Mara Brock Akil producing, my first thought was not, oh, that's cool. It was, wow, that is a real masterclass in how ownership can continue to pay off long after you've stepped away from the work. That book came out in 1975, and yet here we are, nearly 50 years later, watching it take on a brand new life, not because of luck, but because she held on to the rights most people give away. Here's why that decision matters more than most creatives realize. Here is what actually happened and why it's genius. Picture this: a white author whose coming of age story shaped primarily white girls in the 1970s decides to hand over full creative control to a black woman who's ready to reimagine it through a completely different lens. But here's the beautiful thing: Judy could make that choice because she never gave up ownership. This still tells us that Judy was savvy enough to hold on to her adaptation rights, which include film, TV, and ultimately the next life of the story. Mara adopted the story and poured her own grief into it. This became her love letter to her sons, written during a time when she was watching black boys like them be killed and having to parent through that terror. She wanted to protect their tenderness, not toughen them up. The timing wasn't coincidental. Mara started working on this adaptation right as we were all processing George Floyd's murder and so many others. Storytelling became survival. Meanwhile, Judy had spent decades dealing with book bans, public backlash, and literal threats over her work. She could have easily sold everything off years ago just to be done with the headaches, but she didn't. She held on to her rights. And because she did, when the right person came along with the right vision, she had the power to say yes to that instead of just to whoever wrote the biggest check. Think about this for a second. One woman made sure she legally owned her work. The other used that ownership to tell the story she needed as a girl and her sons need now. That's strategic alignment at its finest. Not just because of what it means for representation in media, but because of what it shows us all of us who create anything. The work you've created probably holds value you can't see yet. The value doesn't always show up as cash right away. Often it reveals itself in the right season, through the right lens, or in the hands of the right creative partner. Sometimes the best moves are not about what's next, they're about what you've already made. Legacy is built, not born. Here's what I love about this story: Judy didn't know Mara would come calling one day. She just kept her receipts. She chose to retain her rights when she could have signed them away. She refused to let some publisher or studio own her stories forever. And when the perfect opportunity showed up, decades later, she had the power to choose the vision, not just accept the money. Now, that's the kind of creative freedom most people dream about but think is impossible. But listen, it is not impossible, it's just intentional. It starts way before anyone's knocking down your door with offers. If this story is making you think about your own work, you are not alone. Inside the lab, we are continuing the conversation. Here's what I've learned from working with creatives: most of you are sitting on gold mines and you don't even realize it. This first strategy drop is about revisiting what you've already created. That blog post from 2019, the course you created and forgot about, the framework you developed because you were curious, the talk that people still reference, the photo series you shot for fun. What if those creations have value? What if they're just waiting for you to remember they exist or the right eyes to shine again? Look, I'm not saying every blog post needs a sequel, but what I am saying is that you might be sleeping on assets you don't even realize you have. And the best part, you already did the hard work. You created them. The future is about recognizing their value and giving them room to breathe again. Your experiment is to spend 30 minutes dusting off your past work, browse through old release projects, unreleased drafts, forgotten files, half finished notes. No judgment, y'all, just curiosity. Drag everything into one easy to find folder, and that's it. We'll come back to it later. And then I want you to use the possibility question to warm up. And your possibility question is, what's one thing you've created that you've never thought to revisit? That's it for now, y'all. I'll see you in the lab.